Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name's Andrea. Thank you so much for stopping by. One of my favorite brands is Colourpop. I have an entire Colourpop playlist on my channel, just like full of reviews and different videos on their products, so I'll link it in the description box below. But I wanted to go through and update you on my Colourpop must-haves. I went through the different categories and really narrowed it down to products that are essentials in my collection. They have so many products on the website that it can be a little bit overwhelming, so I thought I would share my absolute favorites with you guys and let you know what I think are like must-haves if you're interested in the brand. I would love to get like some new shades, some new like fun colors, so let me know if you guys have any recommendations in the comments below, but otherwise let's jump into it. So I think my favorite Colourpop category has to be their eyeshadow palettes, just because they have so many different options and they're affordable. They're constantly coming out with new ones. I think I have the majority of them in my collection, so I was thinking about doing like an updated eyeshadow palette guide where I go through and I let you know which ones I think would work for you. Last time I did that, there were only 4 palettes and they have a ridiculous amount. So in the meantime, I thought I would go through and let you know which ones I think are must-haves. So the first palette that I want to mention is the Perception palette. This is one of their newest releases. It is a collaboration with Makeup Shayla, who films YouTube videos, and they did a great job on this palette. It's really beautiful. It comes with matte shadows and metallic shadows, and it comes with a mix of warm and cooler tone shadows as well. There's something about this formula that's just a step up. The matte shadows are like extra blendable. The metallic shadows are extra rich and creamy. It does come with a mirror, which is a bonus as well, but I think this would really in general only add to your collection because there are so many gorgeous shadows in one palette. If you have to get a complete look out of every palette you own, this one might be a little bit more difficult because I think in general I can get complete warm looks, but I have a harder time with like the dramatic colors because they're mainly metallic shadows. So just keep that in mind, but I think if you have any other shadows in your collection, you can always use this palette alongside of those to get, you know, even more variety. I just think it's a great option and there are so many pretty colors in here. If you are not really into like bold, colorful shadows, you might enjoy the Fame palette. This was kind of a surprise to me because I didn't think that I was going to like it as much as I do, but I always find myself reaching for this when it comes to like day-to-day eyeshadow looks. This one is a cooler toned neutral palette, and it's either really going to appeal to you or you're not going to be interested in it at all and think it's completely boring. But if it does appeal to you, I would recommend grabbing it and picking it up because it is such an easy palette to work with. I think you can get a ton of complete looks using this palette, and there's not a ton of variety, so you're not going to get completely different looks like you can with the Perception palette, but in general it's like a great everyday cooler tone shadow palette, and I really love it. There are 2 12 pan eyeshadow palettes that I definitely recommend checking out. The first one is the Kathleen Light's Dream Street palette. This one comes with a lot of gorgeous shades and it's one of my favorites. I think the quality is amazing. I love that it has such a variety. In general, it's a very warm toned eyeshadow palette, but you also get some really pretty like deep dark blue green shades. I just feel like this one is just a fun palette. I get a lot of warm toned eyeshadow looks out of this palette, but I can also get some cooler toned ones with like this green, this silver, and it's just a good option. The shadows are extremely rich and pigmented, which is awesome. The last palette that I want to mention is the Give It To Me Straight palette. This one is going to be great for you if you do like warm toned shadows, but you want a mix of like mauves and berries and also some like lighter warm toned shades. You can get a lot of like light natural looks using this, but you can also amp it up with some of the darker berry tones, and I just really enjoy it. I feel like it is the perfect cross between the Urban Decay Naked Heat and the Urban Decay Back Talk. I always say that, but I feel like this has like all of those shadows that you need, but it's more affordable. My favorite concealer of all time is definitely the Colourpop No Filter Concealer. I love using it either under my eyes or as foundation. I did just film a video where I use it as foundation, so I'll link that one in the description box below. But it's just such a high quality concealer. The actual texture of the product is different than any other concealer that I have in my collection. I just think it's smooth and creamy and blendable. It literally blends out like a dream. I feel like a lot of other concealers kind of tug on the skin or they break down really quickly, but I find that this one stays in place well throughout the day. It's just a good everyday concealer because it's very comfortable to wear and it still gives you good coverage without feeling too heavy or too cakey on the skin. I honestly enjoy it so much. If I had to get rid of all of my concealers and only keep one, this is the one that I would keep. So they have a lot of cheek products. They have pressed powdered cheek products like blushes and bronzers and highlighters. I haven't tried a ton of them, but the ones that I've tried, I enjoy, but I don't know that they're necessarily must-haves for me. I have other products that I like a little bit better, but like I said, I enjoy them. I don't, there's nothing wrong with them. I just haven't tried a lot of them. And I'm not super big into cream cheek products, so I don't wear their blushes a lot. I think they're good quality. But I will say, even though I'm not into like cream highlighters, I really love their Super Shock cheek highlighters. I think these are so good. There's something about the formula of the product that's just so different than any other highlighter that I've tried. They look insanely gorgeous on the skin. You can apply them with your fingers, you can apply them with a brush, and they layer nicely over powder. So even if you powder your skin and then you apply these on top, they still go on really beautifully. They double as eyeshadows or inner corner highlights, and I just absolutely love them. So I have three favorites. My absolute favorite shade is Flexitarian. It's really intensely beautiful. So if you want like a blinding highlight, this one's going to be a great option for you. Wisp is a little bit more subtle and it's a little bit more golden, but I really enjoy that one as well. And then Might Be is really pretty. It's a little bit too dark as a highlighter for me, but I love using it as an eyeshadow. So I love these products because they're kind of like multitasking products. You can use them on the cheeks, on the eyes, and I just think they're so soft and beautiful and creamy and gorgeous. So I do recommend checking them out. I feel like the Colourpop makeup brushes are underrated for sure. I enjoy them a lot. They're definitely on the more affordable side, and I think they work well with all products, but they work extremely well with Colourpop products. So I have 3 face brushes and 2 eye brushes that I want to recommend. The Colourpop F15 brush is a great buffing brush, especially for buffing in their foundation or their concealer. I think it works extremely well. I mean, you really could use any buffing brush, but I do enjoy this one. So I think the Colourpop F13 brush is a unique brush. It's a very large, thick, domed fan brush. And in general, fan brushes for me are a little bit smaller, and I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I really love this one for applying bronzer or contour right into like the hollows of the cheek. I feel like it works extremely well. It's very soft, but at the same time, it's a little bit dense. So I feel like it applies the product well, but it also blends it out really nicely as well. And then I really like this one. This one's the Colourpop F9 brush, and I love using it to blend out my under eye concealer. It would be a great option for cream contour, cream blush, and cream highlight as well. But for me, it's like the perfect under eye concealer brush just because it makes your eyes or your under eyes look really smooth and airbrushed. As for eye brushes, I really like their flat shader brushes. They have a larger one and a smaller one, so depending on what you're looking for, I do recommend picking them up. They work extremely well with their Super Shock eyeshadows, but also just like their regular eyeshadow formula. And then they have a really nice like domed crease brush that fits perfectly into the crease of your eye just to blend out the product perfectly. So I do recommend checking these out, and they have other ones on the website that you might enjoy as well. Okay, finishing up with some lip products. They have a ridiculous amount of lip products on the website, so I couldn't possibly talk about all of my favorites. I might like break it down and do more specific categories if you guys are interested in seeing like all of my favorite ultra satins, all of my favorite, lippy sticks. Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, let me just kind of share my favorite categories with you. So I totally recommend checking out their Lippie. I always get them mixed up. They're Lippie pencils. The Lippie pencils are literally just their lip liners. I enjoy these so much. I actually reach for these over more expensive options. Like I enjoy Urban Decay's lip liners, but these are even better than those. And I just think they're creamy, but at the same time, they do lock your lipstick into place, which is really nice. And I love that they're only $5 because I really don't want to spend a lot of money on a lip liner if I don't have to. I feel like lip liners are something that I do kind of go through quickly, especially my favorite go-to shades. The only downside about this product is that sometimes the actual like lip pencil gets loose in the packaging. So if you store them upside down, it can fall out, which is kind of weird. I mean, you do sharpen them like regular pencils, but I think the actual product is a little bit loose inside the packaging. So keep that in mind, but I feel like for the price, they're so good. I've tried high-end lip liners, drugstore lip liners, and these are my absolute favorites. I really like the Colourpop Lippie sticks, just like their original Lippie sticks. I've tried their new Luxe lipsticks and they're okay. I'm not like sold one way or another with them. Like I don't feel like I have to have them in my collection, but I also don't hate them. I just prefer the Lippie sticks. I love that they have so many different finishes, so many different formulas. So no matter what you're looking for, you'll be able to find it in like the exact formula and shade. And they're always coming out with new ones. They're always also discontinuing them, but a few of my favorites have lasted for a while. I really like the matte finish just because it's very comfortable, and I wouldn't call it like a true matte finish. It does have a little bit of a sheen to it, but I feel like it's so much more comfortable than other matte lipstick finishes, and I really enjoy it. I also like the matte X finish for like a true matte finish. That one's a little bit more dry on the lips, but it does stay in place a little bit better. And then the cream finish is great if you want like a super glossy lip. I think they also have a glossy finish. They just have so many different options, and I like them. I feel like they go on like a regular lipstick, but they stay in place a little bit better. For me, they're very comfortable. I've heard some people mention that they're drying, but I haven't experienced that at all. And then my last lip product favorite are their Ultra Satin Lips. I used to really like the Ultra Matte Lips, but these days I'm just not big into like super drying liquid lipsticks. And the Ultra Satin Lips are still a little bit drying, but definitely not as bad as the Ultra Matte Lips. So on days when I want a lipstick to stay in place all day long, I will reach for one of these. It's more rare because in general I just wear the Lippie sticks these days, but there are days when I want like a rich liquid lipstick, so I reach for the Ultra Satins, and they're great because they do have very long lasting power. They're not completely transfer proof, because if you eat and drink throughout the day they will come off, but they still are like long lasting liquid lipsticks. They're just a lot more comfortable than like a true matte finish, and I like that they don't dry down to like a completely matte finish, just because I feel like they're a little bit more flattering on the lips. That is the end of my video. I didn't include like Super Shock eyeshadows and like single press powder shadows, which I do love, but they just aren't must-haves for me any longer. Ever since they released their eyeshadow palettes, those are what I like really focus on, just because I feel like there's such a good value, and I'd rather have palettes than singles in my collection. But I've mentioned this before, I do want to challenge myself to like go through for an entire month and just use my Super Shock shadows, because I do have a bunch of them and I love them, but they're a little bit neglected in my collection. So I might do that and film it and let you guys know what I come up with and rediscover and things like that. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. That is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you let me know in the comments below all about your Colourpop favorites, because I truly would love to hear from you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.